Thank you everyone for coming. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Lauren Hanley. I'm the Program Manager for Disaster Services at the Houston Arts Alliance, and we appreciate you all being here today. We are very excited to be presenting this webinar with the cooperation of the Texas Workforce Commission. And I will introduce our presenters in just a moment. We wanted to talk a little bit about what the Disaster Services Program at HAA does. We recently presented an interview with Dr. Bowman of the Rodeo, where he talked about how the Rodeo is making decisions moving forward in the pandemic, and you can access that webinar as well as hundreds of other resources for artists and creatives to help you through this time at ready.haatx.com. Or you can access our help desk at that web page as well. That's ready.haatx.com. We're recording this webinar today, and we will be putting it up at the link you see on the screen in front of you, which is ready.haatx.com/TWC once it's recorded. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can put them in the chat, or you can put them in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. With all that being said, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you so much to our presenters. We have Velissa Chapa, who serves as legal counsel to Aaron Demerson, the commissioner representing employees at the Texas Workforce Commission. Velissa specializes in employment law and advises the employer commissioner on high-level unemployment claim appeals and legislative changes. She's also responsible for answering the employer hotline and is a regular presenter at TWC's Texas Conference for Employers and Lunchtime Live sessions, where she discusses the laws on employer policies and procedures, medical leave-related laws, and diversity, equity, and inclusion in business. Velissa was raised by entrepreneurial parents in McAllen and attended college at Southwestern University and law school at Texas Tech School of Law. Velissa serves on the board of directors for the Austin Youth River Watch, and in her spare time, she likes film music and supporting local art. And we're very happy to have her and Michael with us today. So thank you so much, and I will let you take it from here.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again to Lauren and the Houston Arts Alliance for allowing us the opportunity to give you information to share. As she stated, my name is Velissa Chapa, and I'm with the Texas Workforce Commission, and I know a lot of you want to know about unemployment and how it works, so I'm going to break it all down for you. Before I do so, I just wanted to quickly mention that even though I work for TWC, I am not speaking on behalf of TWC, but I've done a lot of research and I do a lot of talks about this because I have a lot of love for artists and creatives. Without you, the world is just a less colorful and beautiful place. So what I like to do is share information with people so that you understand what's going on, what the changes are, what you can do, and how we can support you further. So I've shared my screen. Hopefully you can all see my main slide for unemployment. We're going to cover the basics and we have a lot to share, so I'm going to dive right in. And the first thing I really wanted to talk about was, let's just go through the breakdown. There's been a lot of changes that have happened with the new administration coming in and the new laws under the CARES Act that were passed. And a lot of folks are thinking, what does it all mean? How does it work? So I'm going to break it down. The short and sweet of it is, unemployment benefits have been extended through March 13th of this year. So if you've exhausted benefits, there's another 11 weeks of benefits available for you. So that's really important. So in addition to the extension of benefits for another 11 weeks, there's a separate piece of the law that tacks on an additional $300 to your benefits. I know last year until June, until the end of June, there was an additional $600 a week. That got reinstated at the rate of $300. So not quite as high, but that's kind of what we're left with. Ultimately, according to the guidance I've seen, no one should have to reapply for benefits. If you're currently receiving benefits, continue to request payment every 2 weeks. Give the system time to convert and include all of this new information to your benefits. If you exhausted your benefits, TWC is supposed to automatically re-enroll you. So the whole idea is the agency is trying to make it as easy as possible for everyone to get back into the system and get the benefits. So a lot of it is going to be automatic from TWC. And then, of course, these benefits, additional benefits, start pretty much the last week of December and continue until March 13th. And there is backdating out there. A lot of folks want to know, hey, it's taking a while for it to convert me. Am I going to get all of the money backdated, or do I lose it because it took so long? It should all be backdated. So if you're familiar and you filed for unemployment last year, a lot of you probably got a big lump sum of payment to kind of catch you up. That I expect is going to be the same thing this time around. Okay, so there's two categories of unemployment, and this is where a lot of people get confused. So if you're listening, feel free to take out your cell phone, take pictures of slides. All of this information's on the TWC website, but I really wanted to break it down with the basics. So look at it like this. Typically, there's regular unemployment. Before the pandemic hit, people who had W-2 earnings, if they had sufficient earnings, then they could have a regular unemployment claim. Before COVID hit, if you were an artist or a creative and you lost work, there's a good chance that unemployment is not going to be there for you because you don't have enough W-2 wages to have a Texas claim. So what they did with the CARES Act is they created a whole new branch of unemployment for you folks, and it's called Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or PUA. There's a ton of acronyms and initialisms out there, right? PUA, FPUC, MEUC, it's really confusing. PUA is the big one for y'all. That is the type of unemployment that is specifically for sole proprietors, 1099 workers, gig economy workers, basically the folks who didn't qualify for regular unemployment. Now there is assistance for them. So I'm going to kind of walk you through those two different types. So let's start with the regular unemployment. Again, this is for people who have W-2 wages. So if you have enough W-2 earnings, and it's a mathematical formula, it's really complex, it's a case-by-case basis. The only way to know if you would have a valid Texas claim is to file. But the idea is if you have enough W-2 earnings, TWC does a whole bunch of math to figure out how much you could get every week on just regular benefits. The numbers just changed for 2021. It used to be a minimum of $69 a week. Now it's been bumped up to $70 a week. And the maximum you can get per week is $535. So this is the current land that you're in, just for regular unemployment, not adding the additional goodie bags that Congress has added. This is just the basic floor for regular benefits. Pandemic unemployment assistance is a little bit different. Again, this is for artists and creatives who don't have W-2 earnings, but make their earnings off of their own, sole proprietorship or their own gigs. The minimum for that is actually higher at $207 a week. So if you file for unemployment and you qualify for PUA, 207 is the minimum, which is kind of a difference going back from regular unemployment, 70 a week, to 207 is significantly higher. The maximum is the same, 535. Now, if you want to increase your 207 to 535, TWC, when you file and get approved and all that, will send you paperwork to say, hey, this is what you need to send to us as far as your tax info to increase it. So you don't have to worry about knowing all of this now. TWC would let you know what they need if you wanted to increase it. You don't have to, but you could. So here's the big thing that I think people tend to miss. I've been talking to lots of musicians, particularly in Austin, who are panicking because they filed for unemployment and they got a rejection letter. And they're calling me and they're terrified. If you are an artist or a creative and you don't have a lot of W-2 wages, you should expect a rejection letter first, because what the system does, number one, when you file, and side note, when you file for unemployment with all these different things, you just go to the Texas Workforce website. It's a one-stop shop. You don't have to think about going here or there or multiple websites. The agency takes your info and figures it out for you. You just got to tell them what they need to know. So when you first file for unemployment, the first thing they're going to do is see if you qualify for regular unemployment as a W-2 employee. And if you do, even if the majority of your earnings are not from W-2 because you're an artist, you have your own business, your own gigs, even if you qualify for regular state unemployment because of your side job, that's what you're going to fit into. Pandemic unemployment for independent contractors and such, this is only going to be a possibility if you're rejected from regular unemployment. So if you know for sure, I don't have any W-2 wages, or I have like $100 working for one day at this place, you should expect a rejection letter. It's going to say you don't qualify for regular unemployment, but then the system's going to flag you and automatically see to try to qualify you for PUA. So that's a really good piece with the one-stop shop idea, is you don't have to reapply. So if this is you, if you're an artist or a creative and most or all of your wages are from your solo gig work, when you file for unemployment, expect the rejection letter. That's going to reject you from regular unemployment. And then the system will automatically process you for PUA. And then after that, it'll ask you if you want to submit your tax information to get an increase to the possible 535. And again, all of that goes in a packet mailed to you. So it's not hiding any ball. It's just a lot of reading for some folks to kind of follow the instructions. So here are the basics for PUA. If you've been on it before or you're starting, when the law first passed to allow pandemic unemployment assistance, it was for 39 weeks. And so a lot of people drained that at the end of the year. They just extended it to a total of 50 weeks. So the concept, again, for everyone, whether it's regular unemployment or PUA, the short and sweet of it is this law gave you 11 additional weeks of benefits, period. It's just an 11 additional weeks to what you were used to last year. So for PUA, you get another 11 weeks, and that first week should be starting to get paid out as of the last week of December. And that is going to take you through the middle of March, essentially. And then, of course, there's retroactive payments for some folks who maybe have difficulty filing or what have you. Apparently, we can limit the payment back to December the 1st, but there's, of course, a lot that goes into that. And the last date that the agency can accept a new claim for PUA would be the week of March the 7th. So this is how everything stands at the moment. There's a new administration in the White House. We have a lot of things changing. So at the end of it all, most analysts are in agreement that the incoming administration in DC will act quickly to pass new comprehensive unemployment assistance and other stimulus programs, or at least they're promising that. And the pieces are all in place for that to happen. So this might change in a month or 2 months, but for now, the good news is you have another 11 weeks of benefits. And then there's a little bit more about if you haven't hit your 50 weeks by the end of March, perhaps there is a way to sort of phase out and give people additional benefits. So for those of you who really want to know, what do I do? How does this all work? What you really need to do is keep filing your payment requests every 2 weeks like you've been doing, stay active in the system, and let the system kind of do its thing and figure out where you're going to be. So we've gone over the two basic categories, but now let's talk about the FPUC. This is the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. And simply put, this is part of the CARES Act that tacks on an additional $300 to your benefits. So it doesn't matter whether you've qualified for regular unemployment or for PUA. Bottom line, if you are eligible for even $1 of unemployment, you get the additional $300 on top of that. And that also lasts from the last week of December through March 14th. So this is already being paid out by TWC. The latest data that I got was that benefits from the agency, the additional $300, started paying out on January the 4th, and over $44 million has been paid out of the $300 thus far. And so the unemployment insurance staff at the agency is still converting people over. And hopefully the hope is to convert everyone over by the end of January. I can't guarantee that's going to happen, but that's the goal. People are hustling really fast because we know people need their money. So thousands of people are being converted daily. And unfortunately, it's understandable. A lot of people are calling the agency because they're thinking, where's my money? I need the money. If you're on PUA, again, for independent contractors, my understanding is it is taking a little bit longer. Just because, not to get too complicated with it, but we're dealing with state regulations, federal benefits, and making these systems talk to each other. There's a whole lot that goes to make it happen, but the hardest thing to do is wait. And I think for some folks, that's just going to be the reality for a bit while the system is working on converting everyone over. Texas is the size of Germany, gigantic state. So it is going to take some time, but it's happening, thousands every day. The other piece of the CARES Act, in addition to that additional $300, is the MEUC, the Mixed Earner Unemployment Compensation. Here's what happens, and I'm going to keep it real with everyone. I've spoken to so many artists who have told me that they had side jobs, whether it be, at Jason's Deli or Target or whatever. They had a part-time job. It just so happens most of their money is from their gig work, but then they got this part-time job, they filed for unemployment, and they qualified for regular Texas unemployment. And remember, regular Texas unemployment, the minimum is $70 a week. So for a lot of these folks who had just one part-time job to help them out, ended up qualifying for regular W-2 Texas unemployment, and they were getting $70 a week. And of course, it's very upsetting because their wages from their gig work are not included in determining how much they can get on a W-2 unemployment claim, because that only includes W-2 earnings. So what happened with the new legislation was the passing of the Mixed Earner Unemployment Compensation. If you have at least $5,000 in self-employment income, but you were disqualified from PUA because you qualified for the regular Texas benefit, and again, for most people, it's that $70 a week. What this law does is tack on an additional $100. So this has not yet been rolled out. From my understanding, that we're still waiting on some information to get this rolling completely. But my understanding is that there is that process underway, and Texas is trying to do that. So for a lot of people who are really upset that they were qualifying for regular unemployment instead of the other kind for independent contractors, we're thinking I could have gotten $207 a week, but now because of the Texas claim, I'm only getting $70. So this law allows for an additional $100 a week. Again, it's only if you qualify for that regular unemployment. And again, this is in addition to the $300 of the FPUC. So let's see what all of this looks like when you put it together. If you qualify for regular W-2 unemployment, again, minimum 70, max 535. That's just the basic law. But with these additional laws that Congress passed, you throw on an additional $300. And if you are an artist or a creative where most of you made more than $5,000 from gig work and you want to get that additional $100, you could be eligible for that once it starts to roll out and you meet the requirements. So I suppose the worst case scenario, or the smallest amount that one could receive on regular unemployment through March 14th, is $370 a week. That's going to be the new minimum. The highest amount would be $935 a week if you get the maximum $535 plus the $300 plus the $100. So there's a huge range there, but there is some money out there for individuals at least through mid-March. Now, what if you don't qualify for regular W-2 unemployment? What if it's PUA? Again, the minimum is $207. The max is $535. So that $300 you throw on top of it. That additional $100 for the mixed earner, that does not apply to PUA. So what you're looking at here, let's say you qualify for the minimum $207, throw $300 on top of that. Now you're looking at $507 a week, or at the most $835 a week if you increase and show your tax information and can get an increase in your regular PUA amount. So that's sort of the highs and lows of what the benefits can look like depending on what you qualify for. The main lessons from what I've been learning from materials is a lot of this is going to be automatic. You should not have to be refiling or doing anything else that you haven't done before. A lot of this is supposed to be automatic. But if there's anything that you should be doing, continue requesting your payments every 2 weeks. And this is from what I've heard from various folks in the unemployment division, including the director. People want to know, well, what if I go back to work for a while and then I stop working? I stopped requesting benefits, now I'm starting again. You could do that. The easier way for the system is, especially in a pandemic, because we don't know how much work you're going to have, keep filing your payment requests every 2 weeks. Keep doing it. And when it asks you, do you have any earnings for these 2 weeks? Then you can put in your earnings and TWC will do the math, but keep requesting it every 2 weeks, even if you go back to work, to keep your claim live in the system. It's just easier that way. That way, if your work stops, you just keep requesting and it automatically does a payout. It's just easier on the system and faster for you if you keep filing every 2 weeks. Another thing that changed is if you are qualifying for PUA is some time limits. Now, I've mentioned a few times, hey, you might need to provide proof of employment or prospective employment, basically that information. If you are currently receiving PUA, they're going to give you 90 days to give what they need. And of course, they're going to reach out to you and let you know what they need. If you're filing a new claim or moving to a new claim after the end of this month, then you'll have 21 days. And this is just so that you all know it. You don't have to memorize this. Again, this is something that the agency is going to let you know about when the time comes. So the real key is filing your payment requests every 2 weeks, checking your mail regularly and reading everything and following the instructions, and then let the agency kind of take care of the rest. One more thing on work searches. This is something kind of new. Last year, a lot of the work search requirement was waived. It's now back in effect. So this is a big change from this year. And a lot of self-employed individuals have been calling the agency because they're getting a request to submit their work search activities. And they want to know, well, what does that mean? I'm not looking for like a standard job. I have my own business as an artist or a musician. And how do I show TWC this? Rule number 1, log how many hours per week you're doing all of the things. Log all that time for yourself. And if you want to know, here are some examples. This is straight from the website of what can we do to show that we're trying to reopen. A huge one is posting on social media and contacting your past customers or clients, reaching out to potential clients, even enrolling in training to expand your skills. Let's say you're researching a contract or preparing, that time counts in addition to reviewing the contract or researching contracts. So these rules, in my opinion, seem to be pretty broad. It's not intended to shut you down. It's more intended to see, we want to know that you're making a good faith effort to get out there and get your business going. So these are just some samples of work search activities. It's not an exhaustive list, but it does help explain what may be expected of you if you're an artist or a creative and you need to show reopening. So if you're applying for benefits, you can do it via the Unemployment Benefit Services portal, or you can call the telecenter. So if you want to take a quick picture of this slide, that's a good idea. If you want to speak to a representative, that's what you can do. You may also want to take a picture, and I'll go back to this slide, but you also might want to take a picture of this. Like I said, I am an attorney in the Office of the Commissioner who represents employers at Texas Workforce. And so even though I'm not speaking on behalf of the agency, and technically I represent employers, our office is really dedicated to helping give people information. Like I said, I have a lot of respect and love for artists. The world would just be so different and empty without you all. So even though I'm not a claims investigator and I can't modify your claim or anything, if you have a complication with your claim, and people email me every day about it, whether it be, let's say you're doing your work search reporting and you have there's a glitch or a question, or you need to talk to a representative, you can't get through, email us at employer info, email us at that address. The attorneys in the employer commissioner's office monitor that address. They send all those inquiries to me so that I can send your request to a UI representative to reach out to you and contact you and help you. I take my job very seriously. So I mean it when I say, if you have questions and you are confused or you're stressed, you need to know what to do. I can't solve your problem for you every time, but I can get you to the right people who can. So I really encourage you to reach out to us if you have questions. And I'm just going to leave this slide up for a few more seconds in case someone wanted to take a picture or write down the phone number. But of course, you can apply online or calling the telecenter. And sometimes people email me at employer info when they're trying to call over and over and they can't get through. It's been really busy. It's slowed down a little bit, but for several months, the agency was doing a year's worth of claims every month. So it just takes a lot of time. And like I said, it's a huge state. So that's why I wanted to let you know about employer info. We are here, we care, and we can help you out. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the next speaker. That is all that I had to share with you all today. And it is now my absolute pleasure to introduce to you a gentleman with a lot of really great information to share. His name is Michael Gutierrez, and he is the Special Projects Manager for Workforce Solutions in Houston. Texas Workforce partners with Workforce Solution. And so he knows a lot about local, state, and federal resources for job seekers, financial assistance. He is with it. He is great. He has so much information to share. So go ahead, and Michael, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Velissa. Thank you so much. There was a question in the chat room that said, or more of a comment, that there was an individual that had some trouble trying to register in October. Then in December, they still didn't receive services. And then now it's not even letting them apply. Would you recommend that email?
Yes, 1000%. Email employer info. And I'll put it in the chat too, so that you don't, just in case you don't have it. Email employer info and include your name, the last 4 digits of your social, if you're comfortable, and a brief description of your issue. And then what I do is I forward it to the right people, and then I always respond to you to let you know that it was done. So I'll put that in the chat real quick so that you have that contact.
And I will share personal experiences working with Velissa. There's moments that at our level of Workforce Solutions here in our community, there are a lot of people needing help that can't get through. And Velissa has helped me on 100% of the cases that came into our offices. So I want y'all to know she definitely means it. And I have personal experiences helping individuals get that UI assistance. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for the awesome introduction. And I myself am here speaking on behalf of the community. I definitely work for Workforce Solutions. I am a special projects manager, but I'm homegrown. I'm from Houston, Texas. I was also a musician in an earlier part of my career. So I had the opportunity to perform in places like Fitzgerald's, the old Fitzgerald's. And so there's a lot of things that are very connected with me and some of my friends that are still in the music industry, and some are doing well, some are having to transfer to different industries. And when I say that, some are going from musicians to comedians, because there's a bigger platform for them to be on social media. So I'm sharing with you a lot of things today, including links to identify grants that could be out there. I'm also going to want to talk about an upcoming grant, and I want to really wrap this up with Workforce Solutions as a whole. Locally, we have tons of offices in our local area. We're all the way from Columbus, Texas, all the way out to Liberty, all the way from Galveston on up to Huntsville in our area, but we're throughout the state. And I want you to know, if you're on this call and you're in Houston itself, we do have offices that can serve you virtually to help you find what you need. But right off the start, I want to start with some links. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that all of this is, y'all can have my presentation, but I want to show y'all some things that I was identifying when I started looking for stuff. So I want y'all to know, I actually went in the driver's seat to put myself in your seat if you were looking for resources out there, and what could you find? And I was upset. I started getting frustrated because there was a lot of stuff that wasn't updated. There was a lot of information with grants that said applications stopped coming in December. So I started doing more searching. I started looking more. I started making some phone calls, and I started identifying from a lot of people, much like Velissa had mentioned, with this new administration, there's a lot of ideas and a lot of focus on what we can do to provide additional resources. So while on some of these platforms that I'm sharing with you, you may see old application deadline dates, the key is making sure you're connected with them via social media, whether you're connected with them on a newsletter, so you know about these grants when they drop. And I'm also going to give you some ideas on how to look for them proactively. So right off the bat, these are four of the main links that I found that were an opportunity for me to show you some of the things that I was thinking. Some of you guys may have been on some of these, so forgive me, but if we have not done things like connect with these people on social media or connect with their newsletter, I don't think we've necessarily connected with them 100%. So if we take a look at, I want to bring your attention to some of the great pieces of information out there, like the Houston Art Alliance. And I'm going to just click on this and let me see if this opens up for us. And one of the things I often want to drive you to is, if you take a look at it, most of these pages have their social media links right on top. We got to find ways to get connected. So you're finding out what's dropping. The majority of these groups are presenting the information or the incoming grants through social media to get as many people on board as possible. So make sure you're at those front ends. But as you can see, when I started looking for deadlines, I'm like, oh, that deadline passed. That's not worth even mentioning. Okay, there's no more. They're giving you just general information from 2020. The programs are currently closed. But it takes 100% effort to stay connected with this group, because when it happens, when the funding comes down, these are some of the avenues that it's placed on. So I wanted to show you one of the websites that I trust when it comes to identifying funding, especially for individuals that are of the creative mindset. So that's one of them. And I'm just going to go back to the presentation. And there's also partners like Texas Grant Watch that are out there. Now, I got to make sure that you understand that there's some people that are in the business of taking grants and putting them in one area for you to take a look at. Now, I want you to know, once again, I'm not speaking on behalf of any website or anything like that. I'm putting myself in the driver's seat looking for grants. And when I take a look at some of the grants that could be available on a federal level that have deadlines that are in February and in the future, there are opportunities to look at grants if you're in the audio and video media business. There's grants in our area specifically for technology with the arts. So feel free to take a look at these particular grants and see if anything may match, and you decide if this is going to be a place that you want to start looking to see if there's funding available for any of the avenues that you're taking a look at. They even have grants that are specific to cultures, specific to the organization of arts, different industries. So I want you to take a look at every website that you can to get connected. But this is another one that I'm going to start investing in to identify, not just for the creatives, but we have tons of individuals that we're trying to serve in our area that are small business owners that are looking for that additional help. And when this funding comes down, unfortunately, most of the time it's reserved for the people that are already connected or they're already on a waiting list. So I'm going to suggest that you make some connections and ask, is there a waiting list to hear about some of the upcoming grants? They may tell you no, so at least connect with them via social media. So I'm going to boogie on back to the presentation. And the one of the places that I always go to, and this is one of the things that really makes me proud about how we work together with our partners in Austin, is the Small Business Administration. And one of the things I do here quite often is just see what's available. And one of the cool things that they've done is, of course, they've dedicated a whole coronavirus small business guidance and loan resource page here on their website. So you can stay here and just operate from here, but they also give you content in regards to options, guidance for business employers. But what really caught my attention is that they even queue you up on the grants that are about to come down. So it tells you what they're currently offering. They tell you what they previously offered and say that's no longer available, but we offered it at one time. But they also talk about what they're preparing to offer. And one is the shuttered venue operators grants. And there's a lot of conversations that I've gotten into with individuals that were musicians, but they also own their own venues to be able to throw shows and throw open mics and things of that nature. So I want you to understand that there are all kinds of grants coming down for all different entities at all different levels of entertainment. So maybe there's opportunities for you if you're working with a buddy or even a family member that has a shuttered venue to say, hey, there's a grant coming down. This is a way to kind of help with the situation that we have going on. But I know when I was in the music world, I was very tight with promoters and owners of venues to find out, well, could we get on a particular show? And I can tell you that those are some relationships that are going to be forever forged as we move through the coronavirus. But I can tell you, SBA.gov, it's a phenomenal resource, especially if you're looking to start your own business, which is another thing. Most of us may have not even ventured down that road. We're great at the art that we do, but now we're being put in a position to possibly have to start your own. There was a young lady that was laid off. I believe she was laid off from a school district. She was a PE teacher, but she had a very big background in dance, and she wanted to go into dance, and she just figured there's no more performances and things of that nature. But it immediately started her brain to start thinking about a dance academy eventually. Could I open up something like that? Could I have an outdoor dance academy? So it was exciting to see somebody really have those gears moving to figure out this is something that I can reinvent myself to. So before I give everybody that good old, just give it a try, I want you to understand there's moments where we have to identify in our careers, is there a moment for me to make a change or make a move? And I want you to know the smallbusinessadministration.gov page will help you with all of those pieces of information. I'm also going to give you my contact information at the end. That way you don't feel like this is just a drive-by relationship with me, and we can dive into the local resources even further. But I could not even continue a presentation without making sure that we had the links to the Small Business Administration webpage. So I'm going to go back into the presentation and I'm going to move us to that upcoming grant, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program. It's been established by the Economic Aid to Hard-Hit Small Businesses, the Nonprofits and Venues Act. Now, one of the things, eligible applicants may qualify for the grant equal to 45% of their gross earned revenue, with a maximum amount of available for a single grant award up to 10 million. So I want y'all to know there's a lot of money that's going to be trickling in. So what you can do to be prepared for these grants, if you don't see one out there for you now, is really understand where all your paperwork for your business is. Understand if they were to ask you certain information to put on applications, could you find it, or you have to go ask your wife for it, or your partner for it, or your business partner. It's very important that you have these things, because you may only have that one shot to fill out that application before the website goes down. And that's a lot of the experiences from the people that were going in for those first loans. Is I was in, but I had to go get my information, and when I came back, it wouldn't let me in anymore. And we were hearing a lot of those complaints. So I want y'all to keep in mind that with these grants, they're getting dropped at various times, and when they are, they're for various arms in our industry of entertainment. I'm going to take a moment to talk a little bit about opportunities for temporary employment. And I need to express a personal relationship with this particular moment. Employers are hiring creatives for website design and et cetera. I'm going to tell you about one of my current staff members that I hired during the pandemic. He is a photographer, freelance photographer, and he also does a lot of camera work for Root Sports. But when they had the layoffs with Root Sports, initially he was part of those layoffs. So they only had him as a contractor. So he comes to us and he's looking for work. COVID-19 was keeping him out of the clubs from recording and taking pictures of the bands that he was dealing with. And he talked about how he was excited because he wanted to go back and look at being able to help the different places and venues with their websites. And I said, so you do website work? Well, hey, that's our form of communication here at Workforce Solutions. I'd love to work on a relationship with you so you can still continue to film the Rockets and Astros. I got to see those people on TV. So you can still go do that work. But what I need from you is that creative energy to help us start communicating with people that don't communicate the way some of us older individuals do. And I'll speak for myself. So with that being said, I want y'all to keep your minds open about temporary employment, especially to get you through the season of COVID-19. Teaching opportunities within grade school or community college. I just got off the phone a couple days ago with Lone Star College, and a buddy of mine over there was saying, look, we need all kinds of teachers. And I was teasing him and just throwing out names. Yep, we need that kind of teacher too. Yep, we need that kind of teacher too. And one of the things that really caught my attention is in their arts and humanities department, there's a lack of teachers there too. And so they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out how they bring in technical experts into the community college. And so there may be teaching opportunities there. And I know most of us are thinking about Jack Black and School of Rock, where he was a musician and then he held a substitute teacher position. We're not thinking about that forever, guys. But if only you know how those bills are stacking up at home. Only you know what type of funding you need to continue to pump your creative energy out. So with that being said, I would not lose the opportunity to see if there's any opportunities for temporary employment, because there are even employers that are offering more virtual and part-time opportunities. And while we want to be very careful, as Velissa was extremely real with us, letting us know how certain employment opportunities can affect us, but it can also affect you in a very positive way, where you're building relationships with employers to possibly even apply for ISD grants to do art for that organization. Because if you look at those grants that I provided earlier, there are opportunities for you to try to get federal government grants, or even grants within our ISDs where they have to go to procurement. So keep your eye out on that. But more employers are offering way more virtual and part-time opportunities. Before I move to the next section, I'm just going to go into the chat just to see if there's anything. Okay, Velissa left the employer info email adding in there, so be sure that you also write that down. So going on to the next page, I want to introduce you to workintexas.com for a couple of reasons. As Velissa mentioned, there are going to be moments that they may ask you are you doing any type of work search? And for those that they're not opening up their own business and they have to have some kind of work search, workintexas.com is where you're going to make that happen. Now, one of the things I got to express to you, whether it's a landscaping job, whether it's a anchor for Fox 26, all of those positions are in here. Okay, there's not a certain industry that we cater to. There are all kinds of positions. So I want you to go in there and just see what's available. Maybe some of the pay is relevant. Maybe some of the scheduling is relevant to what you're looking for. But nevertheless, workintexas.com is the largest website in Texas that's free for you to go in there and browse all these wonderful jobs in the comfort of your house slippers and your PJs if you wanted to. 2 in the morning, your creative juices are flowing and you're thinking about a job that you had and is that even out there? Is that employer still hiring? This is a great place to take a look at. But not just because of the jobs. I want to make sure that's the main focus. I really want y'all guys to take a look at the jobs in there. But there's also opportunities for you to really take a look at the financial literacy part of workintexas.com. There are cost of living comparisons. There are overall project planning budget review calculators in workintexas.com that you can use to figure out maybe information for projects, maybe if you have this amount of money compared to the bills, how long would you be able to operate like that before you got a side job or a gig job? Those are all things that are out there, but I want to make sure that you understand that workintexas.com just does not possess the ability for you to find work, but it also assists you by giving you the tools to identify cost of living comparison, or even, like I said, finding out how you can handle your finances just a little bit tighter in such a difficult moment like COVID-19. Now, I wanted to make sure that I gave you guys my contact information because, Velissa had mentioned earlier that we don't want this to be just the one moment that you've talked to us. There's obviously a reason that both of us are volunteering to give you this information, not necessarily on behalf of our companies. It's because we know that there's a lot of information in our community that's needed, and it's forever changing, and not just changing and it's needed, but is it information that you trust? Or is it from somebody that had a hard time connecting with Austin, so they're giving you all the details on how to apply for unemployment? The truth is that we're here to be able to share this information with you guys. That way it's accurate, it's factual, and you can get information as it forever changes. So I want to make sure you have both my office number as well as my email address. That way, if there's anything that pops up that you would like further guidance on or further direction, or heck, maybe it's for the cousin that's still living on your couch that needs a job, use this information to make sure that we get our community connected and back to work. Are there any questions?
Thank you guys so much. I don't see any questions in the chat. I do have a selection of frequently asked questions that we have gotten together. Sure. Most of them are about unemployment. So thank you guys so much. That was very informative and really great.
Of course.
So what if I didn't file in July for unemployment, right? Because I thought maybe the pandemic would be over and, I wouldn't need it, right? I had a safety net, but now it's January, it's been 7 months. Can I apply now and receive benefits from since I got fired in July?
So it depends, and it's a horrible answer, I know, but I would say that if that's you, apply. Just apply for benefits and see what happens. And if you think that there may be a possibility to backdate your claim further, send an email to employer info and we can get that to the right folks. According to the PUA guidance that I've read, a lot of times when you want to backdate a claim under regular unemployment, you have to have good cause to backdate the claim. Like you couldn't get in touch with a TWC representative or something outside of your control caused the delay. But with PUA specifically, from what I remember reading, backdate requests are automatic. There is no good cause requirement. So that was really good news. But with the new change of the additional benefits, my understanding is the backdating can't go earlier than December the 1st for some of these benefits. So it sort of really just depends. And I know that's not a great answer, but I will say the only way to know is just apply, give it a shot, give TWC what they need to process it. And if you feel like there is a possibility for backdating, or you want to hear it from a more seasoned representative, then I can get you over to those people so they can make sure that if there's any chance to backdate, that you can get that ball rolling.
That's great. I mean, I think that means like all the time, if you feel like you need to apply for benefits, you should just apply. It's better to apply and get denied than to think 6 months from now that you need it and you lost, 6 months worth of benefits, right? That's really great. Another question we have for you in the chat is, I'm self-employed, but I still have irregular money coming in. So I'm a contractor, I have irregular money coming in. Can I still apply for unemployment? And how does that affect whether or not I would receive it? Because
sure, you can apply. Yeah. So a lot of times, especially with artists and creatives and gig workers, it's not like a steady income. I'm on a salary of every week. I know what I'm getting. But with a lot of artists and creatives, that's just not the way it is. So what you normally do is just file for unemployment, and then you get instructions from TWC to request payment every 2 weeks. They're going to give you like your day to file is on a Monday. So every Monday, every other Monday, like twice a month, basically, you go in, you follow the instructions. And when you do that, it asks, did you work in the last couple of weeks? And if so, how much, and this and that. And you can just report your earnings and let TWC do the math. So some weeks you may have no earnings and you may get your full amount. Other weeks you may have a little bit and it'll readjust. And again, the good news is if at the end of all the readjustment, if you still qualify for like $1, you get the additional 300 on top. So I'm thinking, go for it, go for it, go for it. And someone in the chat mentioned something, I think in relation to the first question, as it pertains to weekly disaster or from the state. I think that was a question about backdating. Just in my general experience, if you have a regular unemployment, if you qualify for regular W-2 unemployment, the backdating rules, there needs to be some sort of good cause to backdate. And my understanding is that does not apply to PUA. So for some people, they feel like I'll qualify for PUA. I'm an independent contractor. I'm a gig worker. But then they forgot, oh shoot, I have that part-time job at Starbucks. I didn't realize that would be enough wages to make me qualify for W-2. Then you're in a situation where backdating would probably fall under the regular W-2 rules, where you'd have to have good cause. But again, one fact can turn a case on its head. It's all case by case. So I say go for it, file that claim and see what happens.
I agree. And one of the cool things I think about unemployment is that number they give you, if it's, $200 or $500, that's how much they think you should get in income that week. So if you make $50, they'll give you the difference. They'll give you 150 that week, or they'll give you 450, whatever the difference is, plus the 300 on top, which I think it's a really easy math to do. And it's really easy to know, like, even if I take this job, I'm going to get the extra from unemployment. So I can do some things that maybe help me get into a place that will give me a better salary moving forward, which is really great.
Sometimes, sorry, quick note, people, I'm sorry to interrupt. It just occurred to me, some people have called me saying, hey, I talked to a representative and they said that if I do backdate it, or if I file next week, the world could be different. Is that true? TWC bases a lot of stuff by calendar quarter. So that's also important to note. A lot of people last year were filing at the end of the quarter. And then the agency was thinking, well, if you wait one more week, it'll be filing in a new quarter, and that's going to shift things. And so for some of you who have mixed earnings, it might be worthwhile to talk to a representative about your best option, because depending on the quarter in which you file, that may help determine which of the two types of unemployment you're eligible for. This would probably be more relevant if this were like March 25th that we're talking at the end of the quarter. I know it's the start of quarter one, but I wanted to throw that out there. I think it's worthwhile to ask representatives those questions.
Absolutely. And again, if you have trouble getting a hold of a representative because the lines are so busy, you can always email Velissa at the email that she has put there. Or you can contact Michael, who might know the answer as well, at Workforce Solutions. He deals with these all the time. If I was receiving unemployment in the spring and I stopped claiming, but I never canceled it, I never terminated the claim, but I just never went in because you have to claim it every 2 weeks to get the payment. I can't do it anymore, right? So am I in trouble? Do I need to do something to get it back? Is unemployment going to call me? What do I do?
So you're not in trouble with the law or anything like that. Here's what happens. When you file a claim, it stays open for a year's worth of time-ish. So during that year, you might go back to work, you might lose the next job, things happen. So the best thing to do is to keep filing your payment requests every week, because then TWC just treats it as a fluctuation of income. Your claim is still not only open, but live. So for a lot of folks who ended up just stopping requesting payment and things happened, the general idea is to start requesting payment again. And then TWC, depending on how your claim is going to say, oh, this is what you need to do. You need maybe filing a new claim. I don't think we're quite there yet, but a lot of time what it does is it triggers a claim within a claim, which now we're getting really technical, but whenever you have a claim open for a year and then you stop requesting payment and then you start, there's a stop and start that triggers an additional claim or a continued claim, basically a claim within a claim. You're not in trouble or anything, but when that happens, it triggers like a mini claim of sorts where we have to look at the job separation and all that again. And so it does lengthen the amount of time it may take to adjudicate your claim, which is why the director of the agency was saying, hey, if you can, keep requesting it every 2 weeks. But if you stopped requesting and you started again and you're having issues, this is a common thing that we help people out with all the time. So if your claim began on April and ended in December, then it may just be an automatic deal where you're in the system and it's going to automatically place you into the new deal with the new benefits. But for you who asked that question, email me at employerinfo with this information, your phone number, the last 4 digits of your social, and I will get you to a representative ASAP to talk to you about your specific claim and see what you can do to get the ball rolling and untangle any knots that might be there.
Michael, I'm an artist. Let's say I'm an artist and I've been working for years, and the work has dried up because of COVID. And you've given us a lot of options, grants and side jobs to take, and you have the financial resources. How would I even know where to start? Like, how do I go about making the decision on where do I even begin?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a couple places, in my opinion, I would probably start them multiple. So in other words, if I'm interested in starting a business, maybe I want to look for employment, I would take a look at the top 3 things I'm looking for, whether it's a business, employment, am I looking to get back into my industry, but then start focusing on, okay, what are the game plans for those? Because what we often see is if you put plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, if plan A doesn't work, you're starting over again at plan B, and you've wasted time for that to even mature to where you need it to be. So in my opinion, what I've advised individuals to do, at least start learning who's hiring out there. Hiring for positions that you may want to get into. That doesn't take away your talent. It could be in the same arena. You can still harness that creative energy that you have. But I would start there. Then I would start looking at in the community colleges and some of our local communities, San Jack, HCCA, Lone Star, I can just name a few. They have those SBA programs there that are willing to take a phone call and just say, hey, I am a musician looking to start, let's just say it's completely different, landscaping business. They can guide you through that. Maybe you are a musician that's really trying to put out software for music, and you have an IT background and you're a musician, but now you've discovered that this is a need because people are not recording in the same studios anymore. Do you have something? Let's talk to the community colleges and find out how you can start that as a business. Ultimately, you are going to want to have conversations with consultants, especially on the business beginning. But I would start with the community colleges, and I would start with the SBA.gov webpage for the business side of things. For the employment side of things, I would be looking in Work in Texas, really trying to identify what are some positions you would choose to take versus I got to take this job. So let's use those opportunities to start looking out there. You know, when I thought about this, I was thinking about when I chose to go into HR, when I said, look, I'm getting too old for this music thing. I need to go into something for sure. I was very lucky to land in a recruiting role that built me up into HR. So I didn't have a recruiting background before I got there, but I got in and then I started working my way up. But for some of you individuals that are so far in your careers as musicians, you may want to identify what in those arenas are you really good at? And is there a way to expand your brand because now you've mastered this or mastered that? Or is it time for you to identify if you were going to start things like a music label or a record label, how do you do that official? There's a lot of people that are going through those modes right now. There's a lot of people that are preparing to think that by the fall time, maybe the fall time, we're back into concerts. And there's some people preparing for that. I will share with you, there was a young lady that she was sort of in the creatives. She did gaming. She did gaming. And what she did is she ultimately hosted these gaming parties for kids. Like she would take the arcade big old machines out there and the kids would go going crazy. So she was more on the entertainment and hospitality side of things. Well, what she started doing is she started figuring out, well, a lot of businesses are needing teamwork activities. So she took all of her activities and put them virtual. She found a way to put them virtual online. She worked with the local community college to find funding to be able to do that. And she reinvented her business. And now she's like, when we go back to doing these in-person birthday parties, I can have an option to still offer team building activities with corporations. So I want you to know there's a lot of people that are really starting by getting a piece of paper and brainstorming. What are you choosing to do? What would that individual plan would look like? But I think better yet, I want to make an offer. If there's anybody on this call right now and they don't know where to start, I think the very first thing we can do is have a conversation to help you figure out where you may want to start. Because as we've talked to people, whether it's musicians, whether it's individuals that want to start their own construction business, typically they're individuals that are awesome at that trade. And now they're going to make money as a business at it. But nobody has really helped them define the rules for payroll or for HR law or for any of the other things that go along with businesses. Workforce Solutions can provide all that for free, along with our friends from TWC. But most importantly, there's a lot of community partners, our community colleges that have staff that will consult you for free virtually to let you know how your business can open up and move. The Small Business Administration has those same things. So I want you to know it often takes that person's gut to say, yeah, I'm going to pursue this as a business owner. Where can I get that help? And we can fill you in with all those resources. But at any moment, an individual should be comfortable enough to say, I want to see who's hiring out there. I want to see where the opportunity is, just so it's not a forced position. So I just wanted to share that. I think if anything, let's look at can we have a brainstorming session if somebody is really not knowing where to start. Maybe they need to sit down with a consultant, and I would love to help them figure out what would be some of those first moves. But in my opinion, if I was having a conversation with my brother or my sister about where do they start, I would advise them to go into Work in Texas, set up your account, set up a profile. Let's not even say look actively. Set up a profile because businesses will reach out to you. And what wonderful way than you to be able to talk to an employer and identify because they've searched you out in Work in Texas versus you looking for them. So those are some things that I would have them do automatically, set up a profile. And it's going to be needed in some senses if you're going to be applying for unemployment, but make sure that it's completely filled out. Sometimes they just put the shell, they'll put their name in 10 years of experience. 10 years of experience in what? And so those are some important pieces to keep in mind. There is a lot of opportunity coming into our area. There's opportunity that are coming in they're willing to train people to make 6 figures in different forms of energy. And and that doesn't mean you can't ever touch a guitar again. That doesn't mean you can't ever touch a paintbrush again. But I want y'all to know that there's supreme opportunities that can really help your financial situation to further anything that you're doing with your creative energy. So I got to put that out there because also I'm also a realist that there's a lot of artists that are like, look, I got to do something. I got to do something. My family's telling me I got to do something. My wife is reminding me I got to do something, whatever it is. And in those situations, we do want to let you know that there's supreme opportunity in our area, and Work in Texas is going to be one of those first places to start.
As a wife, I can say I never bother my husband about anything ever.
Then you're the perfect one. Then you're the perfect
one. So just 2 more questions and then we'll call it done. I know we're a little bit over time, if that's okay. My first question is, Michael, I've been applying for jobs for 6 months and I've had a couple of interviews, but still no offers. Can you guys help me out with that? Can you look at my resume? Can we do a mock interview?
Oh, that's what we love to do. And honestly, some of the data that we find, it's not even the resume, it's a combination of things. It could be that the recruiter is not a good recruiter on the back end. It could be the process for application is not necessarily complete by the individual. So often when they sit down one-on-one, we'll take a look at the resume and we'll ask about the experience. We'll say, now, when you applied, did you go online and apply? And make sure that you put your whole resume in there and just didn't put C resume. Are you doing all of those things? Because the process of elimination in 100 plus resumes is see who followed instructions. Take those and put them on the top. But a lot of us, including myself on my first couple of applications that I filled out, see resume. And the reality is that was probably getting me out of some of these opportunities. Then I want to find out, how are we doing for follow-up? And what did that interview sound like? At the end of the interview, did you say that you were interested in the job? I've interviewed people for my staff, and I'm like, man, I don't know if they even want to work here. And that already made me, and I said, that's a shame because I like that person. Let me go to the other person that came in saying that they were so excited about it. And really, you don't have to go in there with a pinwheel hat and say, I want to be here. But what we're looking for is for you to at least tell the employer, I'm very excited about this opportunity, and I want to make sure that you have all my contact numbers just in case you're ready to make a decision, because I would love to give you any additional information to help this process move forward. That's how you kind of lay some. And if we're not saying those, that could be some of those things, but we would love to discuss those with anybody on a one-on-one session.
For sure. And as somebody who hires, like if you come in and you know about the job and you know about the organization and it's more than I put on the job application, then like that's a big sign to me that you're really interested as well. So doing just like 30 minutes of research before your interview is like a big
absolutely. I can remember when I went for interviews, I would talk about the mission, vision, and value of the organization because I looked at their website and it aligns to mine. So when they would ask me why I wanted to work there, that's the first thing I dropped.
That's perfect. And Velissa, just one more question for you and we'll call it done. I'm an artist. I know that when everything is over, I'm going to go back to my old job. I have a part-time job. I'm concerned about the job search requirement. What do I do? Do I still search for jobs, or how does that work if I know that I have a job waiting for me once everything gets back up and running?
Really, really good question. Okay, so normally with work searches, if you know you're not going to reopen, then you're supposed to be doing work searches. But if you already know that you're going to go back to your original position, you have a really good relationship, that's awesome. There is a work search waiver that you can try to file. So the basic rule is, even if you know that, you have to do the work search unless you can get a waiver. And there's a couple ways to do it. I think one is, like, if you know you're going to be back within 6 weeks, then it's sort of automatic if the employer confirms. But for things that are longer than that, what you can do is email employer info about that work search waiver, and we can get you over to the director of the Unemployment Insurance Division. His name is Clay Cole, and the director of the Unemployment Insurance Division is personally handling work search waiver requests. For those of you not familiar with government, there's kind of a lot of levels you got to go through to get things done, checks and balances and all that. And the director has been very kind to kind of take that for himself, and approve those. So that's what you would do, would be to email Clay Cole with the specific work search waiver request, and we can help get you started with getting that request processed. And it's going to involve a lot from the employer. We don't just take someone's word for it. We need confirmation. There's a little bit of a process to it, but it's not too much. But that's the point, is you want to get that waiver so that you don't have to search for work.
Perfect. Well,
Sure.
thank you guys.
Oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
I was a little nervous earlier because I mentioned with PUA and backdating that good cause is not required, and I wasn't entirely sure. Our senior counsel, who is outstanding and brilliant and kind, just messaged me to confirm that I was correct. They must be backdated to the first week in which the individual meets the definition of covered individual under PUA. So that's more good news as far as backdating your claim. If you qualify for PUA, good cause is not required. So that is some great there. I just wanted to clear that up.
That's awesome. That's really great news.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much for spending time with us. We really appreciate all of your time. And for those of you listening and watching, Michael has shared his information. Velissa has shared her information. And I'll put my email in the chat as well and say it out loud. It's lauren@haatx.com. So if you have any questions or concerns, you can get a hold of any of the three of us. And we answer emails as often as we possibly can. And we're really here to help you. And we're glad that you came today. And thank you so much for coming.
Awesome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.